Okay, we're getting into the news. All right, you chatter. I'm getting into the news. I'm running the top of the hour ad break, and we're moving on to the news. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do that for $5 or for free. Train your community so they're anti-gaming. They're so anti-gaming, it's pepper pains. Yeah, I know. That person who was talking about indie games and replayability was baiting me, so I'd read their bad comments so they could bait me into running the top of the hour ad break, which I'm running right now. So that chatter did technically win. All right. Okay. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to cover. I'm in the new Call of Duty. Apparently, they're trying to kill me in the new Call of Duty. I will play the new Call of Duty, as I have played all the other Call of Duties. Guaido, the president of Venezuela and Brazil now. Soon he'll conquer all of South America. Just want to point out something really funny about this, by the way. There is currently, for those of you who don't know, a summit happening in Los Angeles, California, in my backyard. It's called the Summit of Americas. Okay? It's the Summit of the Americas. However, if you ask the United States of America, there are some countries that are apparently not America enough to join the Summit of the Americas. Now, what I mean by that is no Cuba, no Venezuela, and no Nicaragua. So that's really interesting to see, okay? Really interesting that they decided we're going to do a Latin American country summit, and, only CIA adjacent states are allowed to be a part of it. So a bunch of the other countries were like, well, what the like, if you don't have these other Latin American countries, like, then we're not going to, we're not going to participate in this as well. So that's cool. Mexico is protesting it now. And it is really interesting to see them so brazenly and so openly basically do like the CIA summit. Like, literally, they're not even hiding it. Anyway, so here's Biden's press secretary asking about the reports that Bolsonaro is demanding guarantees before agreeing to meet with Biden to attend the Summit of the Americas. And Karine Jean-Pierre, the new White House press correspondent, saying the United States continues to recognize... Okay, let's just watch. Let's just watch this incredible take.
Different subject, the president's meeting with President Bolsonaro of Brazil. The AP is reporting that the Brazilian government, President Bolsonaro, wanted concessions from the president for that meeting and for his attendance at the Summit of the Americas, that he wouldn't bring up Bolsonaro's casting doubts about Brazil's election system, as well as environmental concerns in the Amazon. Can you confirm that report?
I cannot confirm that report. The president is looking forward to leaving tomorrow to head to the summit that we are hosting. I can say this: the United States continues to recognize Juan Guaido as the interim president of Venezuela. That said, while the interim government was not invited to participate in.
That's really interesting. I love that the United States of America is recognizing Juan Guaido as the president of Venezuela, when the Venezuelan people are not recognizing Juan Guaido as the president of Venezuela. That's really weird. What a strange thing, dude. So I guess Biden didn't want Venezuelan oil that badly. He was like, you know what? You nationalize your oil refineries, you nationalize your extraction industries, you're going to suffer the long dick of the law for the rest of eternity, okay? No, dude, actually, Juan Guaido, now also the interim president of Brazil. I've decided. Who decided? I decided, bitch. What's up? I'm America. I can do what I want. I can choose to not involve populous countries, okay? Like gigantic Latin American countries in the America Summit. What are you going to do about it? That's literally what they're saying, okay? And by the way, there is nothing more cucked than attending this CIA conference if you are a self-respecting Latin American politician, okay? There's nothing more cucked than going to the CIA conference where they're basically saying, like, come be our dogs. Come be our servile dogs. Do not serve your constituents. We do not give a about the people in your respective countries. We just give a about capital, okay? Come serve us, you servile dogs. That's exactly what they're saying. And that is it. That is it. They say, you want me to bark, sir? I'll bark. You want me to jump? I say, how high? Okay? It's insane to me. It is insane to me how openly they can do this. Okay? They can consistently continue to punish the people in South America. Continue to exploit the people in South America. Continue to punish the people in South America for the crime of wanting to have emancipation, for the crime of wanting to have more control, more autonomy over their own lives, over their own destinies, over their own organization of the economy. It is mind-boggling. A freedom afforded to Norway, a freedom afforded to social democratic countries in Europe. Not afforded to Latin America, though. You can't have that. You can't have that, dude. You. Great stuff, dude. Absolutely great stuff. We keep dicking down South America with no regard for the safety and security and future prospects of the people there. It is so disgusting, and this is a brazen example of said imperialist attitude, okay? I don't know what else to say other than that, you know? I don't know what else to say other than that. It's like, it's literally, it's a conference put on by straight up State Department shills. It's a conference put on for all of the pig dogs that work alongside said State Department shills because of either fear of execution or fear of losing their power. Okay? Now, obviously, no matter what happens, you know, I'm sure most people don't give a shit about this enough, so they won't rip my into shreds. Okay? But it's mainly because the left has been winning presidencies in all of Latin America and the U.S. wants to show who's boss. Yeah. It's great. It's great, dude. Hold on. I want to show you. There was a BT protest. Like, there was a BT footage on protest. It was on Hasan_Piker. But I'm trying to find it, and I can't find it. Hold on. Of a dude just, like, screaming at... a dude just like straight up screaming at the one of these dudes, talking about like the murders in Bolivia, the 36 people that were executed under the oh, here it is, the PSL dude at the summit. Yep, there it is. This is what I was going to show you. Here is a PSL activist disrupting the OAS, chief Luis Almagro at the Summit of the Americas event, calling out his role in the 2019 Bolivia coup. Remember that a violent, ultra-nationalist, fascist, Christian, right-wing coup d'etat was attempted in Bolivia. It failed, but at the time when it was happening, every mouthpiece chirped about how this was actually the will of the people. And the OAS played a role in it as well. The coup overturned the victory of the elected socialist president Evo Morales and inaugurated a right-wing reign of terror that left scores dead. Okay? 36 people died, including a journalist from Argentina. And the people responsible for it, the people that turned the other cheek, or the people that legitimized this, straight the up, got no punishments for it. They got no punishments for it whatsoever. And the most they will hear is scorn from like some PSL activists.
You're here to lecture about media freedom when you install the dictatorship that murders journalists and murders innocent people. You have blood on your hands. Because of your lies, there was a coup in Bolivia. A coup against the democratically elected government. And that dictatorship that you helped install...
PSL is the party of socialism and liberation. Okay, it's I've had some PSL folks on here before. They're Marxist-Leninists. They're predominantly anti-imperialist. Here, just let's get
massacred 36 people, 36 innocent people who are protesting for the restoration of their democracy, for the restoration of the independence of their country. In the towns of Sacaba and Secata, people were protesting peacefully, indigenous people, workers, women, students, demanding the restoration of that democracy that you helped destroy. Destroy because the United States wanted to plunder the resources, the lithium, the gold, all of the mineral resources, the gas of Bolivia. The corporations in Wall Street and in the United States wanted to loot the resources of Bolivia. And so you helped install a dictatorship that would facilitate that looting. In Sacaba and Secata, dozens of people were massacred by the soldiers of your dictatorship. The soldiers of your dictatorship. And one of the people that your dictatorship murdered was a journalist, Sebastian Moro. He was a journalist who was exposing the lies that you were telling and exposing the truth about the coup that you orchestrated, and he was beaten to death in his apartment. And now you come here and dare to lecture about media freedom, about democracy, about human rights. You have no shame. You're a murderer, and you're a puppet of the United States. A puppet of the United States. In Venezuela, too, you dared to support the coup attempt that Juan Guaido ridiculously, outrageously tried to attempt and declare himself the president of Venezuela. What a lie! What a lie! The majority of people in Venezuela had never even heard of Juan Guaido. And yet you said that he's the president, and I believe you still ridiculously say that Juan Guaido is the president.
He does. They do. Of course they do. Which, by the way, like, there was a constitutional time frame for Juan Guaido to actually be the interim president in Venezuela. Juan Guaido, however, Georgetown's very own CIA asset, chose to spend that time going around to Western nations while his country was starving, okay, and telling them how he was going to privatize the oil fields once again. He was going to actually privatize the extraction industries, and also talking about how he was going to solidify their allegiance with Israel. And if you are a starving Venezuelan, okay, I don't think that you give a shit about any of those things. As a matter of fact, you probably don't even know who the Juan Guaido is, as many Venezuelans didn't even know. He was so deeply unpopular in the country outside of like State Department support that like literally he was not even jailed, okay? He was allowed to remain in the country without even being jailed. Unheard of in like these authoritarian social countries. And it is relatively authoritarian, certainly. Most countries that find themselves open and overt victims of American economic and also boots on the ground military imperialist attitudes do have to take a authoritarian, do have to turn into authoritarian countries in an effort to protect their own constitutional integrity, in an effort to protect their own safety and security, okay? America itself is authoritarian in times of war. America itself is authoritarian even when it's not technically under attack, okay? So just remember that. I also don't think that it is appropriate for Latin American countries to be authoritarian, but I certainly understand why they find it to be a necessity. And what Juan Guaido could have done if he was truly a popular leader in Venezuela was take the time, as it was constitutionally afforded to him as the interim president, okay, as the interim president, to reassert and reinforce his values, supposedly, and do what the constitutionally afforded rights were, okay? Instead of running around and doing a Western media tour, because he was technically the interim president, that is true, okay? What he could have done, what he should have done, rather, is I don't know, thwart Maduro's power, okay? With a popular counter. But he didn't do that. He did not do that at all. Instead, all he did was, like I said, do a media tour. None of this is shock to me, considering Biden was preoccupied tweeting about couping Venezuela during the elections while we were all still reeling from the Breonna Taylor decision. His priorities were clear. Remember this? Yeah, as Juan Guaido speaks about the Venezuelan humanitarian crisis and the crimes against humanity perpetrated by Maduro, I reaffirm my commitment to stand with the Venezuelan people. cooping, whatever, cooing, okay? Cooing. Is that better? It wouldn't be a Hasan stream if Hasan doesn't blame every problem in the world in the words. You act like we have all this power, but we could end up getting people off a boat. Wait, I'm also recognizing that America's attempts at facilitating a successful coup in Venezuela were destroyed by fishermen, dog. So I am recognizing that. Me and Chris Murphy both recognize that, actually. Remember when Chris Murphy famously said, you know, the wonderful, beautiful anti-gun Chris Murphy from Connecticut literally tweeted and said, we tried to do a bunch of coups but failed because Donald Trump was incompetent. We tried to do a soft coup in Venezuela, but Donald Trump was incompetent. That's why we couldn't do it. So no, I know how that works. I recognize that. But that still doesn't change the very real, destitute economic reality that the people of Venezuela are subjected to that's killing them right now. What is that reality? Sanctions, okay? Unjustifiable sanctions placed upon all Venezuelan people. They can try to say they're targeted sanctions, but ultimately they are not targeted sanctions. And they also do not work. It's complete okay? Especially when placed upon people that we have declared foreign adversaries, especially when they literally, personally target other countries that even dare to work with you, okay? Yes, ospreys are literally above me right now. Biden is flying above me as I speak. That's crazy. Literally, I just heard the ospreys fly above. Biden is currently on his way to the conference that I'm talking about. Okay? But as I was saying, no, they just passed over. They flew over. They passed. But as I was saying, there's a reason why leftists say sanctions are an act of war. There's a reason why I say sanctions are collective punishment upon a people that did not deserve it. Okay? That's why in a normal universe you would be considering them war crimes, because it is collective punishment. What's the difference between you and Jimmy Dore? What? I'm not like a anti-vaxxer weirdo, okay? That also runs along with like every conspiracy theory that actually harbors fascist talking points and makes it seem like you can develop an allegiance with like fascist paramilitaries. That's incredible, dude. What an incredible take. How is Maduro's approval rate so low? Guaido approval at 61% and Maduro's is 14%. Please tell me where you got the Guaido's approval rate is at 61% while Maduro's is at 14%. Maduro's approval rating is dog because he is authoritarian and he's an authoritarian leader in a country that is suffering, okay? Of course his approval rating is he's not a good leader regardless. But what do I always say? I talk about this all the time with respect to oh, it's a poll from March 2019. I talk about this all the time with comparisons from Turkey, from my own personal experience and my own personal, upbringing, development, and my own personal analysis. Fethullah Gülen is a CIA asset, okay? Fethullah Gülen, for those of you who don't know, lives in the Poconos, is a CIA asset. He's a devout cleric, okay? He is the CIA's own personal pet project where they believe that like he is spreading a more tolerant Islam approach that will counter the Wahhabist influence that they originally placed upon the planet and justified and legitimized and still weaponize against whoever we declare our foreign adversaries. But Fethullah Gülen is Turkish, okay? Fethullah Gülen has a lot of by May 2020, 89% of people in Venezuela said Guaido was unsuited to govern the country. Yeah. Wahhabism isn't relevant in Turkey, but it doesn't matter because like Wahhabism has influence all across the Middle East and the fundamentalist attitudes as a consequence of the CIA's hyping and weaponizing of said attitudes, literally building schools, madrasas with CIA funding, using American textbooks to use against the USSR all the way back in the USSR era, all the way till now, is something that they haven't learned from. As a matter of fact, something that they're banking on. Okay. Anyway, the point is, Fethullah Gulen was supposed to be the CIA's answer to that. And then a coup d'etat happened. And I, as someone who is very much not fond of the Erdogan government for also being fundamentalist, for also being piece of a dog country, or I mean a dog leader that has completely corrupted every facet of government in Turkey that was already pretty corrupt to begin with. Still prefer Erdogan to be in a position of power if he is going up against Fethullah Gulen. Okay? And every Turk in here that spits on Erdogan in this chat, every Turk that is a progressive in here will agree with me on this. Okay? Every Turk that understands what I'm saying currently. We all collectively, especially if you're progressive, we all collectively despise Recep Tayyip Erdogan. We despise him for what he's done. Turks have consistently protested against the Erdogan government over and over and over again. They've died protesting the Erdogan government. They've gone to jail. Their family members have been thrown in jail. The Erdogan government is incredibly oppressive. However, it's still preferable to having your country be run by another fundee that is also a CIA asset. So this is the bargain that America places upon countries on a daily basis. It's also part of the reason how these countries get these fundamentalist and reactionary leaders who place themselves in opposition to American involvement and American influence. This is at the heart of my commentary about why I am an anti-imperialist political commentator. America's influence is vast. America's influence is profoundly powerful. So when I hear dumb liberals in my chat go, oh, America's not that powerful, like, dude, are you kidding me? They still control the global economy. So a privileged progressive Turk, Lamau? What? Please tell me you're not going to do Turkey. You're not going to do Turkish commentary from Nicaragua about what's going on in Turkey when you have absolutely no understanding and can't place it on a map. Please don't do that. Don't do that. Come on, brother. I'm talking about a leadership that renders me unable to go back to my own country, okay? While simultaneously telling you I still prefer that over Fethullah Gulen. That should maybe, explain the predicament and how, and the bargain that people are subjected to on a regular basis. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Always, okay? What about when the Allies invaded the Nazis and overthrew the governments? The Nazis regime was originally German, but it took imperialist forces to remove them from power. Dude, you are comparing the one dub that America has, that the Western superpowers have, to, while refusing to recognize the past 100 years almost, okay, of that same justification being used in Korea, Vietnam, like over and over and over again. Afghanistan, Iraq. Are you stupid? Do you not recognize that that is a lie that has been told to you? God damn, every time, dude. Every goddamn time I talk about this, every time Americans have to chime in by being like, well, they overthrew the Nazis. Yeah, dude, you're right. Except, you know what they did after they overthrew the Nazis? They collaborated with the remaining Nazis that survived. So shut the up. How about that? Maybe their opposition wasn't exactly just about, they were like, hey, you can do fascism, but like not so aggressively, okay? Like, don't do the whole, murdering people in concentration camps thing. So don't do it so overtly, okay? Every Latin American country that I'm referencing, America has done horrifying things to. Yeah. Remember when America, basically in the aftermath of World War II, was like, okay, we defeated the Nazis, so now it's time to collaborate with the remaining Nazis to defeat the real problem. The guys who actually defeated the Nazis, the communists. Yeah, targeted sanctions, right? 1.1 million Afghan children under 5 could face severe malnutrition this year, the UN says. Why? Because we stole their money. Why? Because we placed sanctions upon the government. Why? We literally propped up the Taliban because we wanted to use them against the, against the USSR, okay? Against the USSR backed or USSR adjacent Afghan government at the time. We go to the USSR to go into Afghanistan. A civil war took place. The Taliban ended up taking control of the country, okay? A religious, fundamentalist, ridiculous group of people, right? Kind of like the conservatives here. They took over the country. Then we went back in to Afghanistan, ourselves personally, and dominated Afghanistan for 20 years, and then handed the country back to the Taliban with no care for the safety or security of the people there. Obviously, I'm not using, militant forces or uplifting and upholding militancy, especially if it's towards emancipation, especially if it's for good causes. Okay? Like, that's kind of the whole reason why America was so threatened fundamentally by the existence of Cuba, by the existence of the USSR. Part of it was because, they were doing exactly that. Okay? It just sucks that America almost always, universally, historically, and in contemporary society, finds themselves siding with the fascist reactionaries. So crazy. Love how dumbasses say America ousted Nazis because concentration camps are bad, while at the same time hoarding people in camps as a precaution during the war. Yeah, I mean, of course. The U.S. thwarted a socialist movement in El Salvador. The U.S. backed a ruthless right-wing puppet that led to the murder of hundreds of thousands, including the indiscriminate murder of a whole village, including women and children. Yep. So, yeah. Tucker Carlson 6969 says false. We should be grateful that Castro lived to create an account on Twitter. Okay. Regardless. The USSR was built on slave labor too, man. Gulags were full of peasants like China and Xinjiang can't have non-Han getting any ideas. You cannot imagine the brutalities these leftists enact. These governments are more fascist than us. Cuba to a lesser extent due to the outside influence via the internet. Oh, thank God for Cuba not being as fascist according to plebeian wisdom. Okay? Because they see America, right? Dude, what are you talking about, dude? I love when people say the USSR was built on slave labor too. Okay? Of course it was. Hey, guess what, dude? Collectivization occurred in the USSR over the course of like 50 years in comparison to 400 years of slavery and colonial subjugation. So, yeah, it's inappropriate and it's bad and it's wrong. Okay? But like, you can't turn around and be like, oh my God, I can't believe the USSR did this while literally living in the imperial core as though it's just straight up completely completely overlooking and shadowing America's accomplishments or the Western world's accomplishments and chattel slavery. Okay? And you're saying that right now when America houses 25% of the prisoner population of the planet, dog. We are 4% of the world's entire population, but we house 25% of the incarcerated. Does that not strike you as odd? Does that not weird you out that the 13th Amendment basically says slavery is actually super poggers and legal? Does that not come across as weird to you when you're over here talking about like the Xinjiang re-education camps, which are brutal? I agree. It's such a weird thing to be like, but dude, the re-education camps in China, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Do you not see that? Do you not understand that, like, we should try to, at the very least, do something to clean our own backyard? Dude, it's such a weird thing to constantly be like talking to me about the USSR and the gulags as though like I'm a defender of gulags. You know what I mean? I'm not a defender of Stalin's actions. Okay. Well, there are some actions of Stalin that I do defend, like the Nazis. Okay. Defeating the Nazis. That was good, objectively. Okay. But I'm not a defender of the way that Stalin continued to selfishly govern. Okay. So I don't know why you're coming in here to tell me about that as though that justifies the current existence of American gulags. Okay? It doesn't. Jesus Christ. No sane anti-imperialist thinker would compare the USSR to slavery. They didn't kidnap a group of indigenous people from another continent. It's just not the same scale. If anything, they're more similar to old style of concentration camps. It doesn't matter because then you find yourself defending gulags, which is stupid, okay? That's dumb as... It's quite literally American whataboutism to be like, dude, don't talk about what's going on right now in America. Please talk about like what happened in the USSR. Okay? A country that got owned into oblivion, okay? A formation that is no longer in existence. That's crazy. It's Ameripilled where our wars are necessary. Yes, it is the desperate need for American exceptionalists living in the imperial core to try to routinely justify the atrocities that this country churns out on a daily basis when they hear about it. It is no different than the immediate reaction that a reactionary person has when coming to terms with the reality that gender is not something that they fully understand, okay? It's just that immediate inclination of being like, wait, hold on, I need to defend this. This is up my worldview, and I have to defend. Hold on, I got to find a way. I got to find a way to continue justifying it. And there is so much information out there that will help you in that endeavor. So, you know, you will always be able to find examples and reasons as to why America's brutality is completely justifiable. So, you know, good luck. Ask yourself why you come across like a PragerU professor the moment that you try to defend American imperialism, please. Especially when when you recognize that reality, you turn around and try to act like I'm defending the USSR or some, okay? That's the other part of the problem, where you literally will be like, okay, instead of, I don't know, doing some self-reflection here, trying to engage in some self-crit, I'm going to turn around and be like, well, you're doing it too. Okay, let's say I'm doing it, right? I'm not, but let's say I was. Does that make it appropriate for you to do it then? If you recognize that that's not smart, if you recognize that that's indecent, why are you, instead of recognizing your own indecency, turning around and saying, does it make you feel better? Okay, I'll tell my DPRK friends it's okay to have 3 generations of their family executed for watching YouTube. Wait, what? You have DPRK friends? First of all, when the have I defended, even in any meaningful capacity, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea outside of memes, you idiot? I don't believe you have any friends from the People's Republic of Korea, for the record. I'm just going to point that out. I don't believe that. But once again, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, it's a horrible form of governance, right? I call it. I don't believe that it's the hermit kingdom that personally is uplifting the foundational principles of Marxist-Leninist Jushaism. Okay, the immortal science of Jusha, of self-reliance. I don't think that that's what's happening. I think they're forced into self-reliance as a consequence of some of the most crippling sanctions. My answer, or rather, my question is always this to American imperialism defenders. Okay? I'm not making this stuff up. I'm sorry, but I've seen a lot. Dude. I know you're not making this stuff up. You're just a moron who's only seeing everything in front of his eyes from a very specific lens, okay? Take the glasses off for a brief moment and try to comprehend why we are continuously subjecting the people in North Korea to horrific, monstrous, brutal economic sanctions. Why? Okay? Why? I don't disagree. I think the Kim family is horrible. It's basically like a made up theocratic monarchy at this point. Okay? I don't disagree with you on that. But you personally admitted that Cuba is not as authoritarian because it's not as fascist because of the internet. So why can't we open up the DPRK to outside influence? If these countries and their economic organization is so disturbingly bad, why can't we allow them to exist and cripple on their own? Why do we have to always tilt the scales? Why do we always have to put our boot down their necks then? Socialism is so bad. Socialism is so bad, even though DPRK is not even socialist. But regardless, socialism is so bad, we have to do 70 years of sanctions after quite literally arming the dictatorship. The Batista dictatorship, we have to arm them and make sure that our sugar fields and make sure that our hotel industry that we have interest in is robust. That the entire island of Cuba could still be considered a plantation for American interests. Okay, and then once we're done arming the Batista administration, the Batista dictatorship, okay, because they got their pushed in the revolution, then we'll immediately start the worst sanctions, the worst embargo that anyone's ever seen. This is an island of America, okay? A tiny island. And we've been subjecting them to gross, inhumane acts of all-out war. Fidel Castro has had attempts on his life, more than 200 times, dude? That's insane to me. That's completely insane. If Cuba's economic organization is so devastating, then stop tilting the scales. Allow them to die, dude. 682 times. Jesus Christ. This is my favorite guy in the chat right now. While we're talking about American imperialism, someone goes, people end up making me the Ross of their friend group. I don't have friends. People end up making me the Ross of their friend group. It's that Umberto Eco or fascism quote about the shifting of rhetorical focus. The capitalist hegemonic nations need us to both believe that socialism is hopeless, a hopeless organization of the economy that would fail on its own, while also deeming them a threat sufficient to impose cruel sanctions and regime change. And it works on people. Yeah, it works on people because, they don't care enough. They don't want to hear it. Anyway. Why do people never ask how/why North Korea ended up like this? It didn't happen overnight. It happened for a reason, attempted genocide. Yeah, I wonder why there's no lights on in North Korea, right? It's probably because of the bad administration, right? Except, no, it's because the American allied forces bombed every village, dude. Every village. You think that had something to do with it, dog? I don't know, man. I think that could play a role in it. You know, when your country is literally bombed into oblivion. I don't know when it's leveled out. Okay, when it's basically turned into a crater, killing a gigantic sum of the population. One out of 3 people killed. 90% of the infrastructure leveled. I don't know. Maybe that will be maybe that'll do it. On the first day of election results in Colombia, we present a series of U.S. interventions in Latin America since 2000. You may add more shameful acts in this series. Jesus. Under U.S. Secretary of State John Bolton accuses Cuba of trying to develop biological weapons, adding the country to Washington's list of axis of evil countries. John Bolton, by the way, wonderful guy. Remember John Bolton? He came back in the Trump administration. That was on May 2002. This is just since the 2000s. May 2002, Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez is ousted for 2 days in a U.S.-backed coup before retaking power following a massive outpouring of popular support. Remember when they tried to do a business plot and they took the Chamber of Commerce in Venezuela and used it against Hugo Chavez? But he was so overwhelmingly popular that coup attempt completely failed. Remember that? I think it was record timing, I remember. How long did it take for the American government to recognize the new interim government of Venezuela, led by literally the head of the Chamber of Commerce in Venezuela? I think it was 10 minutes, right? Like you had to have known ahead of time that immediately, as soon as it happened, that you were like, oh, we recognize them. That was so crazy. That was so crazy that's what happened. It's just. I'm sure that has nothing to do with America's role in said coup, where they were straight up speed running, dude. Speed running the acceptance of the coup government. May 2003, U.S. President George H. Bush announces fresh measures designed to hasten the end of the communist rule in Cuba, including tightening a travel embargo to the island. 2009, Honduras. President Barack Obama and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton help a right-wing military coup succeed in Honduras by stymieing efforts to restore the elected left-leaning President Manuel Zelaya by providing command operation support for the coup. 2011 in Paraguay, the U.S. State Department thwarts regional efforts to reverse a parliamentary coup that removes the left-wing president of Paraguay through a widely contested process. In Argentina, the U.S. administration opposes multilateral loans to Argentina's left-wing government of Cristina Kirchner, thereby aggravating a tumultuous economic situation that helped seal the victory of right-wing multimillionaire Mauricio Macri in the 2015 presidential elections. In Venezuela in 2015, President Obama declares Venezuela an extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States. Why? Why? Why is Venezuela an extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States? Because if you can say like, oh, well, Venezuelans are like, Venezuelan expats or Venezuelans who have run from their countries, cry to go back to their own country. Or you could say that the Maduro is mismanaging its currency. You could say that Maduro is not actually diversifying its economy, just like Chavez was unable to do, right? And that, people are dying in the country. You could say all of that. I mean, you can't really say that while you're simultaneously sanctioning the country. But why is it that Venezuela is an extraordinary threat to the foreign policy and national security of the United States? Why is it? People say, oh, dude, your entire foreign policy revolves around America bad. What do I always say? If your entire attitude is America bad on foreign policy, you're going to be correct like 98% of the time. Okay? Because it's just true. That doesn't mean other countries are good. Okay? That's why I always use the example of Turkey. Other countries are not good. Some of those leaders are dog too. But America is still the most powerful nation on the planet. Brazil. In 2016, the Obama government throws all of its diplomatic weight behind corrupt right-wing political actors in Brazil that removed left-leaning President Dilma Rousseff through a flawed and controversial impeachment process. They also played a role in the I mean, I guess I don't know if they're not going to talk about that or not, but like there was also a role that they played in the car wash scandal as well. Venezuela, President Trump in 2017, President Trump imposes broad economic sanctions that sharply restrict Venezuelans' access to international financial markets, thereby exacerbating the country's ongoing economic crisis. Instead of helping Venezuela, okay? If you truly cared about the people of Venezuela, you would offer them help. You wouldn't try to cripple their economy further with the hopes that maybe, just maybe, they will rise up against Maduro and kill them, okay? In 2019, U.S. President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence openly encouraged the Venezuelan military to stage a coup, and U.S. officials have even met with the potential coup leaders. And not only that, but they also turned around, and at least Chris Murphy openly admitted to trying to attempt to do a soft coup in Venezuela. What do you define as good use of bad foreign policy? For instance, if a socialist superpower were to do something as you would define as bad, I'm not trolling, I'm curious. No, I think that part of the reason why I believe that, like, at the very least, developing labor unions and labor power in the United States of America in an effort to turn America into, like, somewhat of a social democracy, like more resembling, Norway or all these other countries, is so that at the very least you could try to undermine America's gigantic military-industrial complex a little bit so that it doesn't get in the way. But in a beautiful future, in a utopian future, obviously in your dreams, it's never going to happen. America would personally be the USSR, the United Socialist States of America, and they would be, funding all of these anti-capitalist initiatives. But that will never happen, obviously. Come on, let's be real. The least you can do is try to not undermine the revolutionary potential of the third world, okay? That's the only thing that you can do in America. But America will never stop undermining the revolutionary potential of the third world, and they will do everything they can to, enact regime change anytime people are like, wait, this we should do something. One of our greatest obligations as residents of the imperial core who benefit from the ruthless extraction of the global south is to fight imperialism. That's why we say America bad. We don't need to carry any water for the State Department. I agree. It's the least, it's the most significant, least significant thing you can do. Do you know what I mean? It's true. And also, this is precisely the reason why there are still plenty of more radical MLs that appreciate what I do, and instead of jerking off on Twitter about how much I suck and how much of a capitalist pig dog I am, and also the reason why so many social democrats despise me, because they don't want to think about these things, because they recognize that in the underlying crevice, this entire machine operates the way it does because of that resource extraction, because of the death and destruction that falls upon the third world. They recognize it. And when someone is saying, like, hey, that's not good, but they operate like a small business tyrant. If I were to go into your father's business and salt it, okay, and get it to unionize, you would probably not be personally appreciative of that. You would not like that, regardless of how much of a socialist you claim to be on the internet. Anyway. Here it is. Here's Eugene Puryear, host of BT Newsroom. Another PSL person confronting Secretary Blinken, Antonio Blinken.
The invitation of Dr. Ariel Henry from Haiti, when he is actually governing with no constitutional mandate. His government has been implicated in many different crimes, including potentially the murder of the past president. Countries like Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua are being excluded from the Summit of the Americas because you deem them to not be democratic. But how can you use that as your justification when you have the so-called Prime Minister of Haiti, who is ruling under no sort of democratic mandate here?
Yeah, we, like many other countries, are determined to get back to the facts of what happened in Haiti, including the assassination.
Dude, I love that, dude. This is so good, so good. What's up with that? Why is Nayib Bukele, everyone's favorite crypto Andy, who, according to recent reports, jailed like what 2% of the entire country's adult population, getting such wonderful press coverage here in the United States of America, hanging out with Tucker Carlson, and then you turn around and you're like, Cuba is the enemy. Cuba is the enemy. Cuba is the enemy. Bolivia is the enemy. Cuba is the enemy. Bolivia is the enemy. Please, please, we can't have those guys come in. Why? Why is Bukele being seen as an ally to America? And it's the exact same attitude, because the people that are right-wing reactionaries that align with American capitalist hegemonic attitudes are the people that we prop up. We don't give a if they're authoritarian or liberal, okay? Or, I mean, we do give a if they're leftist. But that's it. That's it. Anyone who foolishly tries to claim that America gives a single about you know, anyone who tries to give a single claim that like the American State Department actually cares about like you know, authoritarian leadership is in denial, in such transparent denial of reality that it's laughable, dude. I'm shocked that you can not forget to breathe manually, okay? I mean, dude, Saudi Arabia is the greatest example of this, okay? Holy, I mean, I think Owen Jones ripped into, what was that dude's name? Paul Mason, about this hypocrisy in Yemen and Saudi Arabia only recently. I remember here.